Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Cinema. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
Today, we're continuing with our spooky season episodes, discussions, and reviews, and we are talking about the cult classic Donnie Darko.
Yes.
Very excited to get to this one. I had never seen it. You guys both had. Dylan and I watched this together. We'll get into that, how that kind of came about a little bit later. But before we dive into any of that, Adam, would you like to tell the people what Donnie Darko is about?
Indeed, I will. From 2001. After narrowly escaping a bizarre accident, a troubled teenager is plagued by visions of a man in a large rabbit suit who manipulates him to commit a series of crimes.
God, another one of those movies.
Another rabbit suit movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. They were just all
just
over
like the
place.
Matrix, man. Just follow the white rabbit.
Yeah, so I had never seen this before, like I said, and this past Saturday was kind of a gloomy day, and I had nothing going on, and I slept late, and it was like 1 o'clock, and I thought, we're doing Donnie Darko pretty soon. I'm gonna finally watch this movie.
Yep.
Or actually, I don't even know if it was like officially scheduled for the show yet. It was one we had kind of discussed, but hadn't, officially locked in yet. So I just texted you guys and said, it's Donnie Darko time. And I hit play. And 3 minutes later, I got a text from Dylan that said, what did it say? Stop.
Basically. Basically all caps.
Stop what you're doing right now. I want to watch this with you.
Yeah.
So I stopped it and I went over to Dylan's place later. Adam, unfortunately, couldn't make it. He had plans. But then we went through Donnie Darko, and it was very fun to watch it with people. Although I can definitely see enjoying this movie by yourself. There are kind of strong watch it alone vibes in some senses with this movie, but that was my non-experience with Donnie Darko before watching it this past week. How about you guys?
Well, I actually I saw it probably around when it came out on video or DVD, so like 2004. And this was definitely a like late night, like sleepover teenager, like definitely putting this on. I watched this a bunch of times. I mean, I can think of like specific times just watching this, at friends' houses or friends over at my houses, whatever. So loved it. And then didn't see it again for a long time. And then, and then there were some twists and some turns that I'll get to in my closing statement. But yes, I had seen it. I had seen it coming in.
Okay.
And I saw this came out, what did we say, 2001? I think I saw this like somewhere in the mid 2010s. So quite a bit after it came out. And then obviously rewatched it for this episode. But so it was a while after, and I watched it alone both times. So wasn't ever with people. It was just kind of by myself, like, oh, this is a cult classic. I should watch this. So,
and I guess we'll get into it more, but did your opinion change at all? You don't need to say necessarily what it was yet, but It just kind of stayed the same.
Just kind of stayed the same.
Okay.
I think my opinion has definitely changed many times. Watching this movie. Yeah.
So diving into it at a glance, Donnie Darko 2001, directed by Richard Kelly, and this was his debut feature, which we are big fans of kind of identifying and discussing and like making sure we check out debut features from big directors, or sometimes
I gotta add that to the list now.
You do. Yeah. Dylan's got a fun list of his favorite or just interesting debut movies. $4.5 million budget, made $7.5 million at the box office. So we're rolling right along with movies that don't make any money.
Yep.
I mean, part of that may have been because it came out in October of 2001. So like 5 or 6 weeks after 9/11. I haven't looked into what the box office was like in general for that. But this is always also kind of a dark and weird movie. And there's a strong element with like a plane crash in it. And I wonder if maybe people just kind of saw the trailers and looked at it and thought, I don't want to watch that right now. Because it's clearly established a huge cult following since then.
For sure.
And, that kind of matches with the ratings out there. 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, an 8 on IMDb, and a 4 on Letterboxd.
Interesting.
And as far as being, I think this is definitely one of those movies where, not everybody in the world has seen it, but there are a lot of people out there who like love this movie to death. It's like one of their favorite movies. So on Letterboxd, it is 36th overall out of being on the most people's top 4 list on their page.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So shows up in a lot of favorites for people.
Mhm.
The number 2 movie on Empire's 50 greatest independent films of all time poll came out
Ooh.
in 2006. Number
Okay.
1 was Reservoir Dogs.
God, they are on my level.
Yeah, and then number 53 on Empire's 500 greatest movies of all time poll from 2008.
Okay.
Wow, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So before we dive in any further, want to remind everybody or encourage you to
Mhm.
like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with the discussions that we have here. Usually about once a week, we dive into any kind of random movie that we find interesting. It's October, so we're going through some horror or horror adjacent
Yep.
fall themed movies.
Mhm.
And we like to mix it up. So we'll be bouncing into some different type of stuff come
Mhm.
November. So subscribe and stick around for that.
But don't worry, any movie we review will have made less than $10 million. That's our pledge to you.
Yeah, that's been the theme lately. We'll see if I'm actually curious to see what the next movie we do is that like made any kind of money.
I think the goal is all the movies we do this entire year collectively will need to make less than $100 million.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're probably still under that.
Yeah.
Did we accidentally do any kind of blockbuster? We did RoboCop. I don't know how much movie that made. How much movie that made? How much money that
How
made?
much? It was a lot of movie.
Yeah, it is a lot of
RoboCop
movie.
is a lot of movie.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah. So next for our last horror movie of October, we are going to dive into Suspiria, the original from 1977, directed by Dario Argento, not the remake from I know the name of the director. What is wrong with me?
I think the remake was like
Luca Guadagnino, starring
Oh,
Dakota Johnson, that came out in 2018. So we're not doing that one. We're doing the original from 77, which is currently streaming on the Criterion channel.
Yep.
So that out of the way, opening statements. I would like to go first here
You
because
go
I had never
first.
seen this before.
Yes, I'm so excited to hear your opening
And for me, my opening statement is just that it's very nice when a movie mostly lives up to the hype.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, there are some people
Love
a lot of people that have this as one of their favorite movies of all time. It did not reach that level for me,
Mhm.
but I thought it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and it ended, and I thought, yeah, I get it. I can totally see, especially if you were of a certain age when you first watched Donnie Darko. I feel like if he was older than you when you watched this movie for the first time, this probably would have like blown your mind. If you were like, if you were between the ages of like 10 and 15,
which
or
I
like
would have been.
16, yeah, exactly. I can see this just, and I feel like a lot of the people that I follow on Letterboxd that have it as like a 5-star favorite are people that I'm kind of generally aware that they're like in their 20s or early 30s. So, yeah, that's my opening statement.
I'll go next then.
Yeah,
because mine I kind of follows that, but a cult classic that angsty, misunderstood teenagers will love.
Oh hell yeah,
yeah,
for sure,
the Simple Plan generation.
Very much so. I mean, pop punk music is right up the alley.
Yep.
Yeah, time travel, and then the idea that you can go back and like sacrifice yourself to save the world.
Yeah.
What's more,
I'm meaningful. I have power. Like I matter.
Yeah.
My emotions are powerful. Yeah.
They control me.
No, that's very good. Yeah, my opening statement is pretty short. I had forgotten why I love this movie so much, and the fact that Nate also enjoyed it was delightful and made me very happy. That's my opening statement.
That's what I'm here for, Dylan, just to make you happy.
Really, only second to when you gave The Matrix 4.5 stars. This is right up there.
Okay.
It was very, because I wasn't sure, and part of it is because I had watched the director's cut the most recently, and now I know that that's actually regarded as a worse version. So that had kind of,
we'll get there.
That had kind of warped my idea of what this movie was and how good it was. So then, like when we were gonna watch, I'm like, man, there's a chance. Like, what if he just like doesn't like it? That's gonna be such a bummer. Like that's gonna be such a. And then pretty much immediately, I was like, oh, okay, no, he's like, this is awesome. We're
sounds like a very similar feeling to like when I had you guys watch Oliver. musical with me, and you're just watching it the whole time, and you're like, this movie is just such a piece of my soul. What if they reject it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, anytime you do that with like a girlfriend or like a group of buddies, you're like, this is so near and dear to me. I hope you also get the same thing out of it that I got, because it means so much. Like,
Right.
I tried not to spend the entire movie just looking over at you. I really tried. It was tough.
I appreciate that. Adam, can you get slightly closer to your mic? I feel like you're just a little quieter than we are.
Nothing is enough for you. So
no,
not at all.
I'm very demanding. I was too close, and
now you're too far away.
You're good. Just don't worry about don't worry about what you look like.
I think something's a little messed up because you're pausing a little bit for me. So maybe it's just my internet and my gear right now is just being annoying.
That could be.
We'll push through.
All right.
I'll try to yell.
No, you're good right now, right where you are. Don't change.
Right.
All right. Defining moments. I have 4.
Okay. Hit
so, and I went in chronological order here. The family dinner at the beginning is just a great way to meet the family and establish who these characters are. I thought that was phenomenal. How can you not have the Smurf conversation on your list?
Legendary.
That feels like something that the Rick and Morty creator has watched like 500 times in his life.
Yeah.
It's just kind of those weird little like pop culture asides.
Deep dive.
That somebody has like a very strong opinion on.
Just intimate knowledge of like what it was about and like what the ideology behind
to back it up
was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's not just you guys are stupid. Smurfette isn't this. It's like from the text of the Smurf creators.
Yeah. He's like when somebody can like quote the Bible, like chapter and verse.
Yeah.
But with like Smurf lore. Like Gyllenhaal just killed that monologue. That was phenomenal. And then for my notes here, because I write them down, and sometimes I can remember exactly what happens in the scene. So family dinner, like just stuff that reminds me what it is. So for this next one, all I have written down is the shove it up your ass scene.
Yeah.
That entire sequence between when he goes to the front of the room and then the cut to when they're in the principal's office, when you find out what he said, and his dad gives like kind of one of those like cough laughs. He's like not supposed to find it amusing, but he definitely immediately laughs. It reminded me a lot of in E.T. When Elliot calls his brother penis breath.
Yeah.
And his mom laughs as she's like scolding him, and you can pretty much tell that that's the actress actually laughing.
Yeah.
But she was able to kind of power through it and say the line, and they were just like, that's gold. We're keeping that in there.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt about this scene. And then just the ending, I think it works. I don't like this as much as the other scenes I listed, but just like the Mad World playing as we kind of go back to the beginning. I think I like that. It was it felt a little on the nose, but at the time, I'm not sure if it was. So, but it's memorable at the very least.
I mean, it's iconic now. So
that's the thing. It's interesting because even when I saw it, I think by then the song had become popular, and I even knew the song before I saw the movie. So I think, I don't know if it's an example of, at the time, no one really knew that song. And so that was like, oh my God, what a fire montage. And then that song blew up, and now we've all heard it a million times. So now it seems like, to your point, like if this movie came out today, it would not have that song as the,
or if it did, people would just roll their eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
So a mild tidbit here is that was the #1 song around Christmas time in 2003. So a couple years after.
Man, we were so emo as a society.
The #1 song around Christmas in 2003.
I mean, our generation has been through
leaning into it hard.
Yeah. We've been through some shit, and then it got worse. So,
oh, that's funny.
So yeah, those were my 4.
Nice. Adam, you want to go next?
I had the first time we meet Frank.
Hell yeah!
Kind of so shocking and just kind of like, holy shit, what is that? And you're not really sure if it's like an entity or if it's just like a dude. Kind of
great character design for for what he is in the movie. Like creepy, but not necessarily violent or dangerous. Just really creepy. Like
and it's really only his face that's terrifying. The rest, he's just in like a onesie bunny suit. Like it's just like a furry bunny suit. I had the not getting hit by the plane engine. was kind of a big deal. So like all of the things that surround that, and like when it happens, and like her getting like his sister getting home late from being out,
and
like
his dad's asleep in the living room.
Dad's asleep in the living room. Mom's upstairs asleep by herself, and it's just like the whole thing, the whole house shakes and stuff.
I really like, just to cut in here, I really like the way that was filmed, where we kind of saw everybody's experience and then they show us what happened.
Yeah, that's more exciting.
At first I was like, is this an earthquake? Like, what's happening right now?
I'd forgotten that too. And especially because when you were watching, I think you said like it starts happening, you were like, what is going on here? I'm like, oh yeah, like there's a little delayed reaction where you got to see when he pulls up on the bike what happened.
Yeah,
that's.
Well, and as a first time,
I think that's when he walks back from the golf course. I think the bike
walks back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
the
walks
bike
back
is the first
golf
morning,
course.
Which I almost added just when the dad shoots Maggie Gyllenhaal with the leaf blower.
Yeah,
that's just a great little intro to their dynamic there.
Yeah,
so good.
Then I had the party where he hooks up with his girlfriend. And basically that's kind of the kickoff of the whole like final sequence. And then the movie theater, because that's such an important part of what's going on, kind of the apex of his crimes he commits and all that kind of stuff, and what the aftermath means. So
and just like the iconic image, I think.
Yeah, and the music. I had forgotten how operatic and kind of serious the music kind of gets during that. It kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Really heavy strings, like, oh my God.
Which is funny because they're watching Evil Dead. Like,
that's
not that at all.
And then also just like, another add to the, I would think, list of iconic just movie theater scenes in movies. It's always nice when that can be pulled off, and just the completely empty theater, just him and his girlfriend and his imaginary friend. That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So
all right, Dylan, what you got?
All right, so I by far have my most defining moments of any movie we've done, so I'm not going to comment on them. I'll just run through them real quick. Bike ride opening montage, first family dinner, every scene with his mom, first high school montage where it goes in the halls and it goes in grades, and it go the love versus fear classroom scene, which culminates in the shove it up your, which is just great. I love the video. I love just that feels like a legit, honest high school like room, feel there. We've all had to sit through those. The movie theater scene for sure. The scene where he calls Patrick Swayze the Antichrist.
One of my favorites, I think, in the entire movie.
Just the whole audience just feels when he walks up to that mic like, oh God, this is not going to end well.
What's he going to say?
He's cutting through all this bullshit. The high school party montage. Also just fantastic, going around the party, the slow-mo, him walking down the stairs with the girl. You feel like, man, like he's finally got some happiness here. House burning while Sparkle Motion performs montage. Patrick, that was a great back and forth.
His self-portrait going up in flames.
With the slow-mo Sparkle montage on scene. That was great. Closing montage with the Mad World and all that. And then the gut punch grieving family slow shot from left to right.
That was done really well.
That gets me every time.
More dark humor mixed in. Which when Jena Malone, is that her name?
Yep, that is.
Asks what happened, and the kid's just like, he got smushed by a jet engine.
The
way he says it is so funny.
And then his mom's like over there smoking, and they just like sort of wave, and she's like, okay. I don't know who you are, but all right. Like, I
thought that was a very nice moment.
It was very nice because she's just like she's like sort of smiling while smoking because she just like can't believe it, and obviously all that trauma and shit. She's like,
it fits with obviously the weird time travel thing. Like, does she remember? Is there some weird of like, oh, you're a familiar face to me? But then also, the wave, and then the very final shot of the kid next to Jena Malone was also waving. That was just, and then cut to black. I like that. So great.
Yeah,
kind of bizarre.
I like that a lot.
So as you can tell, lots of defining moments for me. I had forgotten how great this movie was. I had a great time.
It ended, and I thought this movie feels insanely rewatchable, and you can kind of just tell from the number of scenes that we listed.
Yeah.
So on to questions to keep moving here, because this is a movie I feel like we could talk about for about 2 hours here.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I've got a couple here. My first question is over or under 100 viewings of this movie from the guy who wrote The Butterfly Effect before that movie came out.
Over. Hard over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so too.
The time travel aspects, it's like that's where it is.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And like the emo nature of it. He just kind of takes Donnie Darko and like the time travel aspect and just makes everything like darker and worse.
And
yeah, with Ashton Kutcher
and
instead
more
of
insane.
Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So then I have, I think, kind of a fun one here. Where do Donnie's parents rank for you among movie parents?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. They're way up there for
Because
me.
They're up
like
there.
like 5 minutes into the movie, I was just like, these two are awesome, and then they just kept being awesome
Yeah.
for the
They're
whole
so
rest of
good.
the movie.
They're
So
so
Yeah.
good.
I had 3 that I brought to the table here. We'll see if we can maybe brainstorm a few others. But the parents from A Christmas Story,
Yeah, they're up there for me.
and then I have Mr. and Mrs. Weasley,
Okay.
and then the parents from Easy A.
Oh
I
God,
haven't seen that,
great
so.
pulls. All of those are great pulls.
Thank you.
Yes, very nice.
That's great.
I think for me, oh man,
I thought about American Pie, but that's basically just the dad.
Yeah.
Like the mom doesn't really do anything. So I was kind of trying to think of like both.
yeah. Well, just among the ones that you mentioned, I think I would put them above the parents from Easy A. I'd put them a hair below the parents from Christmas Story, just because the parents from Christmas Story get way more screen time.
Yeah.
And with this one, while they are very delightful, they're still kind of just a side piece to the main stuff that's going on. But yeah, that's I mean, just with amongst those that you brought up, I'd say, I mean, they're top 10 for sure for me, especially the mom. Particularly the mom is just fantastic.
Yeah, I also just thought the dad was hilarious.
He's so fun. Again, with the like the leaf blower thing and like getting up in the middle of the night to go watch the news and just like falling asleep in the chair.
Yeah, the playful banter, and then also just, like when they leave the principal's office after he told them about the remark, he's just got this shit-eating grin on his face. Like, I'm not, like, my kid is not in trouble for this. I think that was awesome what my kid did.
It's like confirmation that like I've done a good job.
Yeah.
Kind of the look on his
he
face.
gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
My kid's not an asshole.
Even when Donnie and his sister are just swearing at each other at the kitchen table in like the beginning, he's like laughing while eating his pizza, and he's like, "Hey, stop that! Knock it off, guys!" Like, well,
he's
kind of grinning. Like,
you kind of let it happen until it reaches a certain point, and then they're like, "All right, just
like
stop."
the little daughter shouldn't hear this, guys. Like, cool it.
Yeah. Holmes Osborne plays the dad, and Mary McDonnell plays the mom.
Yeah.
Eddie and Rose. Interesting. Same names as what? Not Schmidt Creek.
Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek. Yeah. Same.
They?
Yeah. Eddie and Rose. I think. Anyways,
I'll just take your word for it. And then I guess I don't know. I feel like we're gonna run into questions. People are gonna have questions about like what the hell this movie means and what's really happening about it. But I don't know how deeply I want to dive into that in this episode.
Yeah, the more I've thought about it, I feel like it's very open to interpretation, but I think you don't need to actually understand all of it. That's not the point.
Yeah, I want to hear what you guys think, but yeah, it's not necessarily the point.
I mean,
I
I think
get into that a little bit later, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into it now. Did you have?
I mean, I think this is kind of the spot to get into it. I mean, I guess
any questions, Adam, or
I don't have any questions. No, not really.
Well, my first
one. One little theory that I don't really know if I believe, but it sort of popped into my head. Does this entire movie just take place in the amount of time between when the jet engine hits Donnie's ceiling and he wakes up and knows that he's going to die, and then when it actually kills him? Is this just like him playing out this whole thing and then kind of comforting himself with like, I got to choose this, and by me dying, like other people will have better lives? I don't know if I really believe that, just because of the way the montage like treats the characters as they wake up in the middle of the night when it happens.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. There are countless ways that you can kind of interpret this movie. And for me, at least, I can kind of see where all the time travel stuff is. And I think, and we should mention too, you kind of already did. We just watched the theatrical version.
Yes.
So it's a little more ambiguous. And I think I like that better because it doesn't make the whole movie about that. You can still just kind of watch everything else and take it for what it is. And then you get this sort of like, is this what's really happening thing at the end? Or is he schizophrenic? Or,
Mhm.
just what's really going on here? So
Mhm.
I just had that. And then kind of just as a question, just what's your favorite interpretation of this movie that you've seen?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know about. I mean,
But
there's
we can
so
just
many.
talk about what
There's
we
the
think it
one that
is if
I
we want
yeah.
to.
My question was, what was your interpretation? So I guess we're all
Yeah.
just. And again, I feel like this movie is great because I don't think there's necessarily very many wrong answers. I think you could probably write a paper explaining how this. I think that's good.
I think Swayze as the hero is the wrong answer.
That's wrong. Swayze
Yeah.
as the hero is definitely the wrong answer.
Right.
I feel like there's like I don't know. Part of it has to do with, I guess, if you think Frank the bunny is like God or not. I think that's one interpretation, and if you look at it that way, I think it's very much about redemption and second chances,
Or
and
like Donnie as a Christ figure.
John, yeah. And then if that
That one's
really
pretty clear, I think.
and then especially like you said, the closing montage, the other people who were sinners, you could look at,
Mm-hmm.
atoning for their, they realized they get a second chance now, right? You can definitely see it that way. I also thought we kind of talked about this after the movie ended, but kind of the ever present kind of choice versus fate kind of
Yeah.
themes, which can tie in with religion or just can be viewed not in that way at all. And just about, because there's a lot of kind of deep discussions about, could you change your fate if you knew it was that? Well, then would it even be fate or would it be choice? And then the time travel things leading people on their path, and
Yeah.
him choosing to go back to the spot knowing it's going to happen, kind of him making the big choice at the end, as opposed to if he had just, his dad says after it lands and he didn't get killed, like they would have said Donnie was doomed, so that would have been fate. He was
Yeah.
a victim of fate, and in the end he's actually chosen it. So I don't know,
Right.
I think that's really interpreted, just that the whole movie is just kind of a deep kind of a dive into just those ideas, not necessarily landing on one side or the other, but just kind of presenting all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also get just, or is it like time travel? Like,
Yeah.
is the movie kind of about time travel?
Is
Like,
it just like
is it,
literal?
yeah, is it really like, if we did this, if you went back in time, this is how this be how it would work? And then like that way, like, so then if you're just looking at it that way, then Frank is, maybe the spirit of the kid he killed going into the black hole or you could see it as maybe it's Donnie himself, right? He goes back, like he's about to die, but it's his kind of way of having it both ways. I don't know, but he just comes back as like this, Frank the bunny, but it's just the person he killed. I don't know, I feel like a lot of it is open, but I like I don't know, I like the choice versus fate without choosing a side kind of ideas.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
How about you, Adam?
I view Frank as like a manifestation of Donnie's, like, I wouldn't call it mental illness because he's not ill. He's just like troubled.
Well, he could be.
I mean, he
yeah,
could
I
be.
mean,
It's not explicitly stated, so I don't want to like project that
Right.
as if like,
he burned down a house
he's
when
like
he was a kid, right?
Yeah, he's a troubled kid, but doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean he's like a murderer or like a future serial killer, or he's super screwed up or something. It just seems to be something like therapy is helping, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a manifestation of those kind of thoughts and stuff. It's the voice in his head that's telling him to do stuff, and he's just working through it. And eventually, like, he does do more, like gradually more and more egregious crimes, but his redemption is, I can turn it around. I can not be that person, which is him being like, well, I guess I can just die and not be that person. I don't know. I have trouble with this movie because I think I'm on a different page than everybody else. So if to not spoil where we're going or where I'm going,
Ooh,
but
okay.
I mean, we're, half hour into this episode. I think you can say what you feel about the movie at this point.
I don't like this movie. I don't think it's very good.
Really interesting.
I watched it.
Is this
like
the second time you've seen it?
Second time kind of confirmed it. Like, it's just kind of slow and boring and just not. I just like, because I think I walked in being like, all right, this is supposed to be like kind of creepy. This is supposed to be like this super good movie that everybody loves, and I watched it. And I was just like thoroughly nonplussed. Just like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Like, it never struck me. It never hit me. And the second time I was like, okay, I remember that this happens. I remember that this happens. This is why this happens. And I was kind of going through those things and was like, Oh, so I just don't find it that interesting.
You didn't
That's
fall
all.
in love with the family?
That's really. I mean, I love the characters.
You didn't get goosebumps at those 80s montages?
No, like,
so good.
It's fun. It just like doesn't hit me very like maybe it's because I saw it late. Maybe I
Okay.
just like I don't think
fair.
it's just not for me, which is weird because like I was definitely like the emo kid like growing up and was very much like a Donnie Darko type. Besides, like I didn't commit crime. Like
Nice.
I wasn't burning down people's houses and stealing their wallets, or like calling people a jackass to their face, like who was trying to like somebody who came into my school to help and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that type of thing. So it's just I just don't think it's very good.
That's all right. This is we're just exploring cinema. This is
Yeah.
See,
you say it's a safe space, but I know you're both going. Wow,
I'm disappointed. I'm so sad, but not disappointed is not the right word.
One's crying inside, but he's not judging you.
Yeah, I'll try to get through the rest of the episode, but thank you for being honest, Adam.
All right.
My last question, which we don't actually have to answer, but I'm surprised neither one of you asked it, honestly, which is how exactly does one suck a fuck?
I was beating around the bush earlier because I didn't want to say it, but
I was going to give both of you guys the opportunity. I'm like, well,
if I had rewatched this like last night, that probably would have crossed my mind. But
that's the funniest
time
part
viewing
of the movie, for sure.
just didn't come up with me for a question to ask. We'll leave that one up to audience.
Yeah, up to interpretation. But yeah.
All right. Observations and musings. I just have a few here. The dad is the dad from That Thing You Do, which is awesome because he's also amazing in that movie. Frank is the kid from Independence Day, which is cool.
Oh, yep.
And then last thing, I just thought Donnie and his friends looked really freaking cool when they got out of the school bus by going through the back door.
Yeah.
And like the way that it was shot with like from the ground and like the music's playing. And
it was like rap video. Like
they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And then immediately you were like, have you ever seen anyone go out the back door? I was like, no. I've seen a kid jump out a window of a school bus. I've never.
Who did that?
Shout out Zach Wadan.
Oh my God. There's a name.
I know.
Wow. All right. What do you guys got?
Do you have anything, Adam?
Not really.
Okay. Well,
Adam's
good. You don't get to like this movie anymore.
I'm not ready to be done. I just like I have no.
I know.
I just have two quick ones. One is similar to Cure, the most recent movie we watched. Our main character is content and happy at the end, smiling despite what most people would say is a pretty horrific situation.
Yeah. That works. I like that.
They're both pretty happy with where they end up. Takabe and Donnie. And then just the soundtrack is just I'm listening to it on Spotify now. I can't help it. It's just such good 80s like kind of deep cuts, but like they got love, but like they get their due with just the montage, the choosing what to show in slow motion. It starts right from the beginning when he bikes in and you get the leaf blower scene, which you already mentioned. It's just so good.
So is that why it rained today? Because you've been listening to the Donnie Darko emo soundtrack?
Yes, all day. Yeah, while driving through the rain. It was perfect.
Right. And yeah, you must have played something as soon as I went outside and it was dry, no hood or anything, and then just
I won't listen to it this weekend, I promise.
Deal. All right. Adam, tidbits. What do you got for us?
Tidbits. All right. So I've got a few. So a couple of these. So on the set of Charlie's Angels in 2000, Drew Barrymore and director Richard Kelly agreed that her production company, Flower Films, would produce this film for $4.5 million and that Barrymore would play the teacher. The director, Richard Kelly, stated that if Barrymore hadn't stepped in, this movie would have either gone straight to video or been a cable television movie like via Stars. So that's also why this movie doesn't really have, like, it didn't have any advertising really. It would have just been a direct to TV movie. So it wasn't supposed to be this big, blockbuster, this big movie that was in theaters.
Direct to video was such an interesting time.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's got a bit of a different stigma than direct to streaming.
Yes, it does.
That feels like more of a choice, whereas direct to video kind of felt like just admission that like we shouldn't take this very seriously.
Yeah. Well, let me be maybe the only person on the internet to say thank you, Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, especially right now as she's scabbing it up.
I'm still
from the
just
right.
trying to play over in my head again that "Let Me Be Maybe." I don't know. That sounded.
Let me be maybe the only person.
Leave it.
Yeah,
Maybe,
there was something
maybe
that had like kind of a
comma.
lyrical quality to it.
Yeah.
Sounds like that could be a title of a romantic comedy or something.
Oh,
Me
let
Be
me be
Maybe.
maybe.
Let me be maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. God.
with like maybe in quotes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, let's
for
not
sure.
give let's not give Scab Drew
And
Barrymore.
Drew
too much
Barrymore could
praise
be in
right
that
now.
movie.
Yep. And the
You
girl's name
absolutely
is
could.
Maybelline. And
Oh,
so
God.
so she goes by Maybe as her nickname. There we
Sure,
go.
perfect.
All right, let's wrap this up and get to writing this thing.
Yeah. We are accepting offers.
So again, with the production of the movie, the original advertising material featured a crashing plane, obviously with the engine falling out. So obviously being so close to September 11th, all of that was pulled, resulting in the film tanking the box office because they didn't advertise it, because they had to basically rewrite everything that was advertising. So they just pulled it all. So that didn't help. So it gained its audience when it was released on DVD, which Dylan, you mentioned is when you saw it.
That's when I saw it for sure.
And that's when it became a cult classic, because it didn't do well. It made no money.
God, this feels like this had to be like a blockbuster movie.
It had to be something like right at the end of summer, like winding down, kind of not a feel good movie, but like an encapsulation of the summer. You're closing things out.
I wonder, I mean, now it's like it's grown and grown and grown, and for a long time it was kind of like a cult classic. Now I think it's just like a generational classic for like people our age. But it'd be fascinating to know how we would look at it if it would have, September 11th never happens and it just gets released with full fanfare, and who knows, maybe Jake Gyllenhaal is skyrocketed to fame overnight. Maybe it's like the movie that all of our friends and everyone saw and we're like, oh my God, we're so sick of this movie. Like, who knows?
We couldn't review it here. It would have made money.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Then it would have been out.
Right.
Nate would have never seen it. There's another thing with that is that originally the script and stuff for this movie was done in Arabic, but they pulled that as well. So the text in the movie is still in Arabic, but all the promotional stuff was supposed to be that way. And for the movie.
What do you mean the text in the movie?
So like the Donnie Darko, when it shows up, like the title sequence, like as he's like riding through, that's all in like an Arabic type script. But but
it's not like, okay. So you're talking about
it's not actual Arabic.
Yeah, that's just where I was like, what are you talking about?
No, it's supposed to like be reminiscent of that. So they pulled all of that for all the promotional stuff and what the box art and stuff like that was supposed to look like, but they kept it in the movie itself because of obviously
that was going to be part of the aesthetic kind of interesting.
The last production value thing I'll talk about is the director's cut, which we just mentioned. Greatly alters the pacing of the films. It adds deleted scenes, as most of them do, new visual effects, and it switches the soundtrack of the movie around. So director Richard Kelly regards this version not as the director's cut, although that was the title was the publisher's idea. He considers the theatrical version just fine in its own right, and thinks the new version is like a special edition. So the director himself likes the theatrical version better, which is good.
I sure as hell do too.
So these are the fun ones. This is filmed over a period of 28 days, which matches the length of time depicted in the film. It just takes 28 days for the world to end.
Love it. Love that.
At the start of the movie, when Donnie rides his bicycle back into town after he passes the two ladies power walking, Frank is driving his red Trans Am right past him.
Interesting.
Rewatch right now.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm not going to Killers of the Flower Moon tonight.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? And then the last one is at the rap party for the film. Both Seth Rogen and Jake Gyllenhaal agreed that they had no idea what this movie was about. Which I love.
Yeah,
I want to be in a room with those two because they're like so on like different sides of Hollywood.
I know. At one point, they were kind of near not the same level because obviously Jake is the star, but yeah, just at that point in their careers, both of them so young
in the same movie. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, it is time for the McCabe coat of excellence.
Yeah, show him that coat.
Yes.
Ooh.
Who is the coat getting awarded to today? We each get to give out a coat to any person involved in the movie who we think exhibited excellence. We do not have to give out a coat if we don't want to. So for me, I think I'm going to be the first person to give out a coat to the casting directors.
Hey,
No, I love that. I
Touche.
love
Joseph
that.
Middleton and Michelle Morris. You're gonna have to share it.
Yeah, come on down.
Come on
down, Joe and Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I just
great.
thought, as I was watching the movie, just every single time like a new character was introduced, I just thought like that is the. And then 5 minutes into seeing their performance, I thought this is the perfect person to be playing this role.
Yeah. And to bring
Absolutely.
in Swayze to be
Dude,
the
and he's so
motivational speaker
suave.
who's also kind of a pedophile, and then Drew Barrymore as the teacher. Of course, she killed that role. And then even like the guy who was cast as the male teacher, he
I was
just
saying
had
Noah Weil.
Noah Weil, perfect
As like the cool science teacher. Everybody has a perfect look, and they
Mhm.
all just fit. I thought the casting was amazing.
Side note on that, one other small tidbit is that Patrick Swayze wore his own clothes for this movie.
Love it.
Oh, I
own
can
clothes from
totally
the
see
80s.
that. He wore his
Yeah.
own
He wore
clothes.
his own stuff from the 80s.
Just imagine that conversation of him showing up, and they're like, "All right, you're gonna play this really obnoxious, wealthy, motivational speaker who's also secretly into kiddie porn. Here's the wardrobe we've selected
like-
for you." And he says, "Stop. I have the perfect clothes for this."
I don't need it. I got it.
Right.
Also,
Miles ahead of you.
and casting the siblings, Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal to be the siblings. I
Mhm.
think that's part of why the dinner scene, it all feels so authentic.
Yeah.
Do you think that was in the script, or do you think that was something that one of them had said to the other before?
that kind of is what
Maybe.
it feels like? It kind of feels like they've had those arguments before, and they're just like, "All right, we're bringing out the classics. Remember when I called you a this, and you told me to
Yeah.
go this?
Yeah.
We're doing
So-
that."
And she wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. It ended up having like the person that was supposed to be there dropped out. They're like, she's got time,
Really?
all that stuff. And it's like, it works because she's a sister. Like it's perfect.
Mhm.
So that makes it even better. And she's like, yeah, let's replay some of the old classics and just make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Or Adam, will you be awarding it to anyone? I assume not.
I will not be.
Okay. That
Okay.
fits.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
I will be, and I will be rewarding it to Richard Kelly. Thought about Jake, but he's had a lot of great performances in his career. I don't think this is my favorite performance of his.
This, I think, is
even though
Richard
it's
Kelly's
great.
only chance to get a McCabe coat.
Looking at his other movies, I think so too. Written and directed, and it's the debut. I mean, it's such a vision and well put together. And even just from the beginning, he just wakes up in the middle of the road and bikes down the mountain into his Suburban. Like, it's just great. The imagery, the music, the whole thing is fantastic. So I'm giving the McCabe coat to Richard Kelly.
All right. Wrap it up with closing statements. I don't necessarily have one other than to just say that I'm absolutely going to be watching this movie again.
Yes.
It feels like, I don't know, I like the pacing of it, and I like kind of to just live with the characters.
Right.
Some of the ridiculous conversations that they have, and Gyllenhaal's amazing, and it's got a fun, like, of the era cast.
Yeah.
And I think it fits in really nicely with a lot of the other high school movies from this century. Even though it's like very much its own thing, but I think quality wise, it's right in that like upper echelon.
And I feel like it being made in 2001, but set in 1988 gives it this just slightly vintage, slightly kind of nostalgic, but still very much present. Like,
For sure.
Like I'm pretty sure the first time I saw this when I was 13, I didn't even know it was supposed to be 1988, or maybe I did, but that just went over my head. Like I spent most of the movie thinking like, oh, this is just, present day. Like things look a little outdated, but maybe there's just like a weird
kind of like was running for president now.
I forgot. That went over my head. 13-year-old me was like, dude, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But so it's not like way in your face about the timepiece or the time period, but yet it's just always there, and it fits kind of with what's going on. And
it's a great time capsule for sure.
Yeah.
I will say
really
that.
cool.
Like that's a really strong point.
Yeah, and kind of maybe a redemption for 80s parents and like conservative voters. Kind of a weird, like they're like, I was gonna say, are these like the nicest, like overtly conservative parents?
I was gonna mention at some point, like it doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
At least with like what you think about, because they'd establish right away that like, okay, they're gonna vote for Bush, but then they're like the most liberal parents on the school board. Or PTA or whatever, and every way that they respond to everything else is like they're very open-minded, they're artsy.
They're good people, they're just rich.
So I wonder, I feel like Richard Kelly was trying to say something there, like a little bit like,
maybe.
hey, we weren't, who knows. All right, my closing statement for the 5th time in a row starts with a very bold psychological thriller. But a very bold psychological thriller that I love so much. 2 years ago, I watched it for the first time since high school, and I watched the director's cut, and I was underwhelmed. Just my headspace and the way the director's cut is presented, it just was not the same movie that I had remembered. And I dropped it to a 4.5 stars on Letterboxd and slid it all the way down to number 62 on my top 100. And I am here to say I was a fool and a braggart.
A fool, Harry Potter.
Yes, and I regret it. I was looking for faults or something, but I was just wrong. It's an awesome movie, 5 stars all the way, and I have moved it now all the way up to number 31, one spot ahead of Django Unchained and one spot behind The Wailing.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited going forward to see if you're able to shoehorn your kind of beginning of your closing statement into a different type of movie.
Yeah. Eventually we're going to
just stop watching psychological thrillers.
Everything's a psychological
thriller.
If you really think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Inside Out. That's a bold psychological thriller.
Honestly.
All right.
Unfortunately, mine's a little bit not as fun as yours.
Yeah, let's play the sad music.
Yeah, play some Mad World over the end of this.
I was gonna say, yeah,
play Mad World. Overly
funny. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Overly long and not as interesting as it thinks it is.
All right. Well,
I'm dead. All right. I might not make it to Suspiria. I'm glad I ended my career on this movie.
Dylan has chosen his hill to die on, just like Donnie Darko did at the beginning of the movie.
Yep, I'm going back to bed. I know the jet engine is coming.
Bring it on.
All right.
Well, Adam doesn't like it. Anyways, all right, we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, we can wrap this up. This was a really fun episode to do, even if Adam, sorry you didn't like the movie, but still.
I'm so happy you did, Nate. God, it makes me happy. Yes.
Hopefully that outweighs my hatred, not hatred, my disliking it.
In the end, it does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all about hate or fear versus love.
Right. See, Adam's just afraid to embrace the movie.
That's it. That's it. You're right.
Okay. And with that, I believe it is my turn to put a wrap on the show.
Yep.
Take it away.
For it. Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.